Hi, I'm Kristin Gutierrez, your host for Women in Localization's Ask the Expert. I am here today with...
You're here today with Nadia. My name is Nadia Colon, and I'm excited to have this conversation with you.
Super fun. So your expertise that we want to talk about today, among many other things, is vendor management, right?
Correct.
Okay, so I hear you have like 5 tips for vendor management.
Yes, I was thinking about this, and based on the conversations that I've had with some of the vendors that we work with, they're always super eager to work with us. They're really excited, and they say that we're one of their best accounts. And usually we're a small fish in the pond based on our output, at least right now from the current company that I work at. So that made me think, what is it about us? Because I do escalate when needed, and I do, it's not always a nice, friendly experience, right? I mean, it
Hold
is
the vendors accountable, basically.
It is friendly, definitely, but it's not. Sometimes there are strong conversations that need to happen, right? And every company is the same, and with different projects as needed and different languages. For example, looking at quality and linguists and communication with the reviewers. So having all of that, those conversations, sometimes there are strong ones there, but it's to get aligned. It's always a collaboration. And I think that's why they enjoy it, because I don't see the vendors as, yes, we understand that we are the vendor's client, and that there's a vendor, like a customer client relationship that's there, but at the same time I see them as part of my team. We are a team.
Yeah, teamwork and collaboration. You hit on that, like collaboration and then flexibility. Yes. And then almost understanding your lane, right? So yes, you're the boss.
But my background is in translation. That's my first degree. And then I found linguistics, and I fell in love with linguistics. So I studied linguistics, and I also studied teaching English as a second language. So all of my love and my experience is all about languages and communication, interpersonal communication, issues that happen in intercultural communication. So I wasn't looking for localization. Localization found me.
Oh, I love that. So how important then is, with relating to vendors and in your current role, the education and like knowing it all, or knowing what you need to know, and the training associated with it?
Yes.
You hold yourself to a high standard, then I assume.
Yes. So when localization found me, I actually started as a translator. And when I started, then I got promoted, and I kept getting promoted. And it got to the point that not living in an area where I could speak my native language all the time, like it became, instead of English and Spanish, it turned to Spanglish. So I felt like I wasn't as qualified to keep translating. And because I had been getting promoted, I figured out that basically I like that management role a lot, and to guide people. But that starting experience as a translator, it was wonderful, because I got to know what the translator expects. So right. If you give incorrect or incomplete information, incomplete source files, if you don't give all of the information that's needed, you're not going to get a good job.
Right. So when I was the walk.
Yes. And it just turned out that way. So when I thought about the top 5 vendor tips or vendor management tips, I thought about getting to know you. So please get to know your vendors, get to know your team, especially your main project management teams and your account managers. These are the team members. They're part of your team. They're working for you, but with you.
Right.
That part of working with you, that's the part that I like, because the more you know them, the more they know about you and your company and your expectations. So just having that awareness and nurture in those initial conversations when you're onboarding, or when you have new team members, or if you're the one who's new to the team, then trying to make sure that you're all aligned. It's I think it's like the way to go. Right. The other, so aside from the get to know you, is a teamwork. Yes, working together.
Super important.
It's all about making sure that everybody knows their role in the workflow, and that if they have any questions, that they can come back and ask. Right. My background as a teacher, people tell me, you explain things so clearly. And I think it's part of my nature a little bit, but it helps because I don't think that there are silly questions. There are no silly questions.
My motto is always ask one more question.
Yes.
Right?
I agree 100%.
Yeah. Better to ask a silly question and not versus make assumptions.
Agree. Exactly. Yeah. Because then if you make the wrong assumption, you didn't do it with a bad intention, but it's just going to take more time to fix. So ask. When I talk about teamwork, I also talk about collaboration and flexibility. We want the vendor to know that we understand constraints, and that we sometimes ask for undoable, impossible things, but we appreciate their flexibility. And it's a collaboration. It is really everybody working together for the same goal.
Right.
So basically, the 5 tips we have so far: the get to know you, the teamwork, and then the pop quiz.
What happened?
What is that? The pop quiz is actually for you to explain clearly. So everything is related, everything that we've been talking about. Explain clearly what the expectations and the workflows are. Again, so everybody knows their place and in the workflow. Everybody has, they know what their role and job is. And if there are questions, that they can come back to us. But the pop quiz is kind of like that. Like, if you know what the expectations are, make sure that the vendor knows and that your PMs know, so they're not giving you things that they think is what you want, but maybe it's not really what you're expecting. Guide them. It's all about guiding. Once you create those workflows and they know the expectations, they will be able to execute how you want them to. So it's all that nurture, awareness, get to know you. So it's really about the relationships with the team members. The next one is the tip. I called it the know-it-all. So it's all about training and education. Right. So giving, if you're using specific tools for your company, providing as much guidance as possible. The more your linguists and PMs know about the tools that you're using, the better.
Don't just throw your vendor into the mix and expect them to know it all without knowing it all first.
Exactly. And sometimes that's the expectation from the client. But if that's not communicated clearly, then there's going to be issues there.
Right. And I really feel like you want to, like, these tips are all aligned with like you trying to set vendors up for success.
Yes.
Go through a process. Yes.
Yeah. Because if they fail, you're the one. I mean, the client is the one that gets affected. There's more time, more runaround, even escalations. When I don't think escalation should be the first step to go to. It should be the last resource. And If all of these other tips are in place, then escalations are few and far between.
Yep.
And it's mostly to align the teams. It's not in a bad way. It's like this has been happening. We have these issues. How can we solve them? Let's brainstorm together. So again, it's about collaboration. The vendor has so much experience with so many different clients. So the client should be, we on the client side, we should be receptive and open to what the vendor can contribute. Again, it's a two-way street, not a one-way street.
It is. All right. And then your tip number 5. What do we have?
Tip number 5, it's like, what happened? Issues and escalations. So we talked a little bit about that. Things, as we all know, things don't always go as we would like them to. So having that communication already in place and those relationships, it helps so much to address things when issues do come up. So the vendors know that we are not out there to point fingers. And that's why I say, what happened? Because we know the trajectory. We know the results that we've gotten before.
Right.
So sometimes it could be that there's a new team member, there's issues with the tool, the English content is not clear. Whatever the issue is, let's try to figure out what happened and tackle it so we can improve. And sometimes it happens with one language, sometimes it happens with many at the same time, and that's really challenging. But that relationship and collaboration will ensure that when you do have those issues and you're asking what is going on, instead of escalating and things getting tense, you want those to maintain those relationships and make sure that your teams are comfortable and trust you and that you can trust them.
Well, this is why vendors love to work with you.
Well, I didn't know until the vendors told me, and they kept saying the same thing, and with my manager as well. And we're like, well, we're just being ourselves. But I think that background that we have.
You're being open and you're being communicative and you're being collaborative and you're setting you're setting the program up for success.
Yes, because we are a team.
Yeah.
So get to know your vendor and your team. Create that teamwork environment and make sure that everybody is comfortable. Because if they're not comfortable, they're not going to ask questions and it's not going to be a successful relationship. Pop quiz, set expectations and training and make sure that they have everything they need to succeed. Know it all, educate and train, same thing. It's all overlapping, right? To create those issues. Those ways to ensure success. Exactly. And finally, if things don't go the right way, take an open-minded approach with the what happened tip of there's a problem, let's not point fingers, we identified it, how can we fix it, let's brainstorm as a team.
I love it. Thanks so much for sharing your insights,
Nadia. It's great talking to you.